I connected with Neil the Seal, who is a seal that's making the news worldwide. He's in Australia. And if you don't know who he is, you can Google him, but I connected with him and the conversation did not go exactly how I thought it would. And I don't know if you're going to love what he had to say, but I'm going to share it because it's important. So I connected with him and he said, well, it is about damn time you got here to interview me. I've been waiting. My time is very precious. I said, well, I have some questions I'd like to ask you. He said, and I have some answers I'd like to give. I said, okay, well, are you aware of your fame? He said, of course I am. I am well aware and I often have an audience. People seem to love me even though I break shit and cause chaos. I am lovable Neil the Seal, the most famous seal of all the seals in all the land. I said, you seem to like to break things. Is there a reason? He said, I'm like a big kid. I'm having fun. I don't break things to upset people. Sometimes things are just in the way. And I kind of asked him to elaborate on that. He said, I'm not trying to break them. I'm playing with them. It's not my fault if they're not strong enough to withstand a seal. I said, they aren't supposed to withstand a seal. And he said, well, clearly. I said, so you like playing with things? He said, I like traffic cones. They're squishy. I stole one once. Not steal, borrowed. I borrowed one. Then I broke it. They are easy to smush. I'm very fat. I'm just a giant tub of lard. Imagine if you could smush things with your belly. Imagine how fun that would be. I said, is there a reason you're not off with the other seals? He said, because I don't want to be. If you can't tell, I do what I want. I'm big. I'm fat. I could smush a human. Everyone moves out of my way. I'm the king of these parts, and people come to pay their respects to me. Gawk. They're gawking. Humans are gawkers. They gawk at things. I'm famous, thus they come to gawk. I said, are the people who come to see you bothering you? And this is where we kind of take a turn. He said, are you asking if they're in my way because I'm in everyone's way? I said, well, do you find them annoying? He said, humans are annoying in general. Which avenue do you want to take with this? I said, are the people who come to see you and take pictures of you bothering you? He said, the locals are fine usually. They know me around these parts. The tourists, tourists. You're a tourist, meaning me. I don't want to speak ill of tourists, but yes, tourists suck usually, especially children. No offense. Or yes, offense. I can speak freely here. No one judges me. Children in general don't have impulse control boundaries. They're loud, very annoying. I don't trust children. You never know what one of them is going to do. I said, you could say the same thing about adults. He said, well, you know, Australians are very nice people. And I said, that was my experience because I was in Australia in 2018. Nicest people, nicest people. He said, any tourist that comes from another country to see a wild animal is stupid. And I know I'm saying that to you who has gone to other countries to see wild animals, which I have. I'll talk more about this at the end. He said, someone like me, Chonkers, Punch, Freya, we're a spectacle to you. And it's not just about seeing us. You need a picture, but a picture isn't good enough. You need a selfie. And that's when we get annoyed with you. It's a human behavior that's really developed into something terrible for the animal world, wild animals especially. I don't have to tell you that, but you're guilty of it too. And you know that as well. I said, I know, but so what I was thinking of, this was when I went to the Galapagos Islands about 3 years ago, and I had that image in my head, and I said, I know, but I wouldn't have, meaning I wouldn't have pet the sea lions, but he cut me off and said, you wanted to, and I said, I know. He said, you'd want to pet me, and I'd hate you for it, because I don't want to be touched by humans. I don't want to be pet. All right, we're at the part about humans now, so I'm just going to give it to you straight, because I'm Neil the Seal, and people care about what I have to say. Humans have lost control of themselves in regard to respect shown to animals. I'm specifically referring to wild animals, as pets are another story. You don't share and you take. Humans as a whole aren't looked at very fondly by wild animals. A person can be nice. People can help an animal in distress, nurse them back to life. I'm not discounting that. Humans as a whole, as a society, as a species, you're a fungus on this planet and you're spreading. Side note, I connected with Chonkers, who's a sea lion making news in California, and I think he said the same thing, that humans are a fungus. He said, there's no one with more power than you and more ability to cause harm. You're multiplying. There is no controlling it. So you will spread to every corner of the world, take over every inch, and there will be nothing left. And in your quest to gain more, we will get less until we have nothing. And I said, Neil, and he said, yes. And I said, I'm sorry. He said, I know, again, it's not you as a person, although you are a part of it. I'm not saying there aren't nice humans. I'm not saying humans never help us or try, but we need help from you because of you in the first place. I don't hate humans, but I am annoyed by them and what they are doing. I said, are you aware that if you cause too much trouble, break too much stuff, or are in the way too much, or if you bite someone, there's a high chance they'll kill you? He said, you think I'm not aware of my chances of fatality? I know what happened to Freya. That was your fault, not hers. Side note, Freya also made the news worldwide. She was a walrus who was in Norway, and she would jump onto people's like yachts, and she would damage them, she would sink them. She became a spectacle, and Norway made the decision to euthanize her because people weren't listening and they were getting too close, and she became a risk to humans. So he's saying that was your fault, not hers, meaning humans. See, we get punished for your stupidity. Freya was living her life. She didn't do anything wrong. She hopped up on things that were there to rest, but people couldn't leave her be because they don't listen, because they don't care. A picture is more important than our well-being. So all those people who got too close to Freya got their picture. They can say, here's a picture of the walrus I was a part of having killed because of my own selfishness and stupidity. Those people got their keepsake, which now represents a wild animal they took part in bringing death to. Their picture is their proof they were a part of it, however so proud they should be. I said, would you consider maybe not playing with things that end up breaking, which would make people mad and thus want to have you removed? He said, removed. What a lovely picture to paint. No, Lori, I can't. And it's not because I want to be killed or don't care, but I am showing you who you are as a species and what is most important to you. If I am removed, as you put it, taken care of, it will be because humans care more about themselves and their things than animals and respecting them. I am a mirror that reflects that. The world isn't yours. The land isn't yours. The oceans and the trees. It's ours. We share these things, but humans don't share. They never will. You have evolved into what you are now. Ancestors used to appreciate the land and the animals you took up space with. And yes, I am going way back to a lost time. What you are now, what you have evolved into, it is a fungus that is spreading. You want to ask me what you can do, what people can do. You want to fix this or try, but you are part of something much bigger than you. The people who see this broadcast, the ones that care, because yes, we know many of you care, they don't have the ability to move, to steer the human species in a different direction. You are a piece of sand in a sandbox. I could easily say, have respect for wild animals, give us space, don't touch us, stop it with the pictures, but you won't, not as a whole. This really turned into a PSA, didn't it? And I said, yes, but it's important. He said, what happens to me is a reflection of who you are and what you deem most important as a species. And the answer is yourselves, your space, and your things. And I said, Neil, and he said, yes. And I said, I think you're the cutest, because I do. And I just, where the conversation was going. He said, I know, I am cute, fat, a celebrity. I'm having a nice time. I like playing with things and ultimately breaking them. It's not my fault. They aren't strong enough. I like being me. My dog is drinking right now. And many people are nice, respectful. The locals know me. I'm their trespassing neighbor who doesn't listen and makes faces at them. I'm a beloved member of this town. It's the tourists that can become a problem. I said, I'm very sorry that this is how the world is and that I contribute to it. He said, it is, where you've gone as a species. Not all of you, but many, the majority. We don't want harm to come to you, but we wish things were different. I said, I hope they don't euthanize you, Neil. So many people all over the world love you. He said, that's the problem. Being a celebrity as a wild animal can sign your death warrant. I'm having a nice time while I'm here. I very much enjoy my life. I bring a smile to many people's faces just by being me. Whatever happens to me happens. I get joy out of each day, and I'm not worried about anything else. I'm having fun. Humans will do what they do, and I will do what I do, and I will enjoy every moment and every traffic cone while I am here. You probably thought this conversation would be more funny, and I said I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I talked to a sea lion who was very adamant he was not fat, and you called yourself a tub of lard or something like that. He said, yes, I'm a big boy, big old belly. I love being round. I roll over very easily. I'm like a potato. Anyway, you need to go to sleep, and I need to go back to whatever the hell I'm doing, which is most likely being in someone's way. Thank you for interviewing me. Please use a good picture of me, not that silly one. I said, do you have a preference? And then we looked together, and I was because the one I wanted to share, I won't share it because he didn't want me to share that one. But we found one that he liked, like a headshot. And so that's the one that I'm sharing. And I know all that sounds crazy. And if you don't know who I am or what's going on here, please watch my pinned featured video because it explains what is happening in the conversation and how it works, and, you know, hearing the messages in English and all that stuff. So I went to the Galapagos Islands like 3 years ago, and there are sea lions there, and I love animals, and I am guilty of this same shit because I have pictures. I went with my dad, and I'm trying to get like as close as I can to them while not getting too close to them for a fucking picture. And it's just, I don't know, it's like where we are as a society. So that was a fun conversation to have right before I went to bed. I did this session last night, but that is what Neil had to say. And I don't know. I'm just sharing what he said.